Children, now let us continue with the topic water. Okay, because we are seeing the lesson water, we are going to continue with the topic. Only some calculation part is remaining that we will do it later. So let us go for the topic of today. Today's topic is Henry's law. The first thing we are going to learn today is Henry's law, and also we are going to learn something about the crystals. These are the two things that we are going to learn today: Henry's law and crystals. Okay, now what is this Henry's law is connected with? Henry's law is connected with the effect of pressure and temperature on the solubility of gases in water. Okay, it states about that. Now you can see in the picture, you can see a bottle and you can make it very clear that some gases are dissolved in the bottle. Yeah, that the content in the liquid that is present inside the bottle, some gases are dissolved. Now this Henry's law is going to give us an idea about the mass of the gas that will get dissolved in that particular volume of the liquid which is present inside the bottle. So, Henry's law states that at any given temperature, the mass of the gas that gets dissolved in a fixed volume of liquid is directly proportional to the pressure on the surface of the liquid. Okay, so the mass of the gas that gets dissolved in a fixed volume of a liquid is directly proportional to the pressure on the surface of the liquid. That means what? If the pressure is going to increase, definitely the mass of the gas that gets dissolved in the liquid also gets increases. It also gets increased. What will be the effect of temperature? An increase in the temperature of a water decreases the solubility of the gas that is present in it. Thus, on boiling the water loses its taste. Why? Because the taste of the water is because of some of the gases that is present in water. But on boiling, these gases escapes, making the water tasteless. So, what does the Henry's law states? Henry's law states the relationship between the amount of the gas that gets dissolved at a given temperature and a particular pressure. So, when the pressure is going to get increased at a particular temperature, in a fixed volume of a liquid, the amount of the gas that gets dissolved also increases. That is about the Henry's law. Now let us go for the next one, which states about the crystals. What is a crystal? Now the first structure you are going to see, because the crystal structure we will not be able to view, that the crystal lattice structure of sodium chloride is what you are seeing in the picture. You can see in the picture the yellow one is chlorine. It is already clearly given, and the sodium is given in white, and they are arranged in a fixed position. They are arranged in a fixed position. Now, so the crystal is a homogeneous solid of definite geometrical shape. Now, again underline the word shape, because we are going to see what are the different shapes of crystals which is present. It has symmetrically arranged smooth plane surfaces which meet forming sharp edges. Okay, they have sharp edges, and you can see it here very clearly in a picture. This is the structure of sodium chloride crystal. That is what you are seeing there. It is a homogeneous solid of a definite geometrical shape. We can also see some other shapes also. For example, what you are seeing in this picture is the octahedral structure. The second picture that has come up is octahedral structure of ferrous sulfate. That is what you are seeing in the picture. And one more you are going to see is this is potassium nitrate. I have taken because these two are the forms that we are drawing and showing it to you. This is the original crystal. When you do the crystallization process, this is the crystal that you get for potassium nitrate. It is the prismatic crystal. You can see how differently the crystals of various chemicals are getting formed. They are of different shapes. How these crystals are formed? These crystals are formed during the process called as crystallization. Okay, how this crystallization is done? Crystallization is a process by which crystals of a substance are obtained by cooling a hot saturated solution. You are taking a hot saturated solution, you are going to cool it. When you cool it, what you get is called as a crystal. So that is, I have defined crystal. Crystal is a homogeneous solid. Crystallization is the process. So through the process of crystallization, what we get is a crystal. And one more thing is that the crystals of the compounds, that is the inorganic chemical compounds, are of different shapes. Some of the shapes I have shown it to you is cubic shape of sodium chloride I have shown, octahedral shape of ferrous sulfate, and prismatic shape of potassium nitrate I showed in this picture. Now, how to do the crystallization? So first we saw what is a crystal, and second one we saw what is meant by crystallization. And now how in the laboratory this crystallization method is being done. That is what we are going to study. There are 4 different methods by which we can do. The first one is by cooling a hot saturated solution. Now let us underline when saturated is already a word which is very familiar to us. Saturated solution is a solution in which no more solute can be further dissolved. We call it as a saturated solution. If this hot saturated solution is allowed to cool, okay, now you can see in the picture a crystallization by cooling a hot saturated solution. When you cool it, what is getting formed? You get the crystals that is formed. Or by slowly evaporating a saturated solution. Slowly you have to evaporate, or by cooling a molten mass of a solution you can get a crystal. By sublimation you can get a crystal. This you have already learnt in your lower classes. Then one more method is there. To prepare a large crystal, you can do this particular method, what you are seeing now on the slide. Okay, now what you are seeing on the slide, to prepare a larger crystal. Now, to prepare a larger crystal, the method, let us look into that. You can see a beaker which is filled with blue color solutions. A blue color solution itself, in our mind it is very clear. Blue color solution will be copper sulfate. And how the copper sulfate solution should be? It should be a saturated copper sulfate solution. And you can see there on the top there is a glass rod, and to the glass rod and a thread is being tied, and in the thread what is tied is nothing but a crystal of copper sulfate. It is called as a seed crystal. Okay, so you are taking a 50 ml of saturated solution of copper sulfate in a beaker. You are tying a crystal, that is a seed, we call it as copper sulfate, that is a crystal, that we call it as a seed. Okay, it is tied and it is left in the beaker which has the copper sulfate solution. It is suspended, the seed crystal, as it is shown in the picture, and we have to leave it for a couple of weeks. And after a few days, we can observe the crystals will be found to have grown quite bigger. The crystal that we have put it inside, that is we have tied it along and we have hanged it or suspended in the glass rod, it will start growing bigger. Okay, so the suspended crystal which is shown in the picture, the inside which is being suspended, it acts as a seed. You know what is meant by a seed? A seed is from where the plant starts growing. That is what we learn it in the biology. So this acts as a seed. Okay, and on that particular seed, after some days, we can see the crystal starts developing. And this process is called as seeding. Okay, this process is called as seeding. This is one of the method by which crystals can be prepared in the laboratory. The process of inducing the method, crystallization method, by adding a crystal of the pure substance to the saturated solution. So what we have taken? Saturated solution, in that we have added a crystal, and using, because of the adding a crystal, what happens? Further crystallization process has started, and this process only we call it as seeding. Now we are going to learn something more about a crystal. You would have learned, because now we saw crystal, then we saw crystallization. One more word which is related with the crystallization we will see. That is nothing but water of crystallization. Water of crystallization. Water of crystallization is nothing but during this formation of the crystals, okay, during the formation of the crystals, some of the crystals have a fixed number of molecules present in it. Some of the crystals will have a fixed number of water molecules present in it. It is called as the water of crystallization. The fixed amount of water that is associated with some compound as an integral part of that crystal is called as water of crystallization. Now you can see the different formula that I have given you as copper sulfate. It is pentahydrate, sodium carbonate, it is decahydrate, and calcium sulfate, it is dihydrate. You can see there. So different compounds have different water molecules associated with it. So it is a fixed volume. Okay, it's a fixed number of water molecules only will be associated with a particular crystal. So that water molecules only we call it as water of crystallization. Now, let us see in the next slide what happens when you take that copper sulfate which has pentahydrate and heat it. Is there any difference on heating it? So, let us take copper sulfate. The first beaker you see is a beaker which is having copper sulfate which is blue in color. It is copper sulfate pentahydrate, that is CuSO4.5H2O. You are heating it. On heating, you can see in the next Petri plate that white crystals are formed. So what is happening is nothing but when blue crystals of hydrated copper sulfate is heated in a test tube, they turn into a white powder because the water molecules escape from that. So what you see, the first picture is nothing but hydrated copper sulfate. The second picture, which is white in color, is anhydrous copper sulfate. Now I think you know the difference between hydrated salt and anhydrous substance. This is what I want to introduce the topic. I think students you can understand. Hydrated means which has a fixed number of water molecules associated with that. So when you heat it, naturally you know that water has a boiling point at 100 degrees Celsius. So when you heat it, naturally it will be converted into vapor. So after a certain stage of heating, this particular salts will lose its water of crystallization and some of them loses their color also. So one such example I have taken is copper sulfate. So when it is in hydrated form, it is blue in color. When it becomes anhydrous form, it becomes white in color. So when you add water again, it will again becomes blue in color. Okay. Now let us see what happens to an anhydrous salt I am heating. Okay, I am heating a hydrated salt. What is happening to the hydrated salt? It loses its water of crystallization. On the other hand, what do I do is, I take an anhydrous substance. What is an anhydrous substance? If it contains no water, we call it as anhydrous substance. Suppose I am going to heat an anhydrous substance. What will happen? I am going to take sodium chloride or a potassium nitrate. If I am going to heat it, so what is going to happen is, it will decompose, producing a crackling sound. It is called as decrepitation. It is called as decrepitation. Okay, that is the bigger crystals will break down into smaller ones. It cracks, a bigger one will break into smaller crystals. So what is the type of reaction taking place there? Decomposition. So let us see what is happening to potassium nitrate. Nitrate is converted into nitrite. Nitrate is converted into nitrite. Nitrite is a light yellow solid with the liberation of oxygen. So what is happening to sodium nitrate? Sodium nitrate, ATE, is again converted into nitrite. Sodium nitrite, ITE, with the liberation of oxygen. So what happens is, certain crystals, anhydrous substances, when it is heated, it breaks into smaller crystals by making a cracking sound. Okay, that crackling sound it makes, and this process only it is called as decrepitation. Now let us see the one more example. Let us see what is going to happen to calcium nitrate. So I have given you in the picture, calcium nitrate is what you are seeing. So this calcium nitrate which is also an anhydrous substance, it doesn't have the water of crystallization. On heating, it decomposes to form calcium oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and also it liberates oxygen. So the colorless compound on heating leaves behind a white residue, which is calcium oxide, and a reddish brown gas. Okay, reddish brown gas is nothing but the nitrogen dioxide, which turns blue litmus red. Why? Because it is acidic in nature. And potassium iodide paper brown and also liberates oxygen, which can relight the glowing wooden split. So we have seen, children, what happens when a hydrated substance is heated, what happens when an anhydrated substance gets heated. So with this we are going to finish this lesson.